Welcome to the Conceive, Believe, and Achieve podcast. I'm your host, Shawn, Geris. I think a lot of us get into coaching as an extension from our athletic career. When you get a little bit older, the bumps and the bruises take a toll. The knee surgeries, the rotator cuff problems, they do more than a little bit than ache. Yeah, so I think, as we get older, we progress to the point where, we wouldn't want to get beat up anymore, so we make that transition to coaching. And sometimes, some of us do a good job of it, and some of us don't do a good job of it. One of the things I like to do is actually, what I've been doing is trying to better myself as a coach. Sometimes you can take it through, various coaching certification courses. I just took one this weekend, the Respect in Sport, that was offered by my organization, Canada Wrestling. But the other thing I like to do, I just don't, for me, I just don't want to do, those certification courses, because I think, they're great. You get your little lessons here and there, and they tell you to be ethical. They tell you, what you need to do as a coach, but there's so much more that goes into coaching. Knowing the sport, of course, the technical portion of it, you can't just jump into, for me, I can't just jump into swimming and think I can coach. I mean, I could start taking the level 1, level 2 courses, but would I be a really effective coach if I didn't have any prior training in that? I don't know. I really don't. But one of the things that I've done that I've wanted to do as a coach is better myself by talking to other coaches and individuals and educating myself, and how they became, maybe the elite coach that they are, or, how they're, they've progressed through their coaching journey. This podcast has actually made a real, for me, it's been a real amazing journey, because I've got to meet some really cool people, starting to name one is, Jim Richardson from the University of Michigan, the former swim coach. You think that a swim coach couldn't teach me anything at all, because, again, I'm not a coach in swimming. But, man, the conversations I had with him, and we talked about how, kids learn, and how they get the more out of their training for them. The one things that in the discussions that we had, we talked about, the growth mindset. Growth mindset is something that I've heard about, teachers talk about in schools, and maybe you as a parent have heard your children talk about the growth mindset. Their teachers talk about the growth mindset. It's I believe it was Carol Dweck who wrote the book on it. And that's the reading that actually Jim Richardson gave me as homework. And it talks about how, fixed mindset individuals don't get far in sports, or, academically, or in anything really, because, they have this fixed mindset that, things happen for a reason, or things happen and you can't do anything much about it. You can't change things in the process. And, some athletes go about that. You approach their sport that way, okay, well, I lost, can't do much about it. I'm just going to go back to, back and just keep training and enter the competition again. And that kind of mindset can limit you in your success. The growth mindset, if you're a proponent of it, is basically, let's say you take a loss for, a loss in a sport, or maybe a setback in academics. It doesn't matter, but what it is looking at that challenge that you had and going back and saying, okay, well, let's look at the solution to this. Let's look back at, and it could be chess, it could be chess as well. Chess is actually a really good example of it. But, when you lose a match in chess, it's really good to go back and look at, what happened, what led to that loss. Same thing with sports, of course. You get into sports and you take a look, and you can play armchair quarterback. Well, why did I lose? Why did our team lose? Let's go back and take a look. Okay, we did X, Y, and Z very well, but we didn't do, the others very well. So, and that what that enables you to do is go back and say, okay, well, you know, if I had done this X, Y, and Z, I probably could have changed or had a better outcome in the process. Those are the things, the controllables, and that was one of the things that Jim spoke about was the controllables. You know, you control. You have the ability to do things to control various aspects of your game. There's other things, the uncontrollables, like the outcome, the way the other team is playing, whether your competition is playing. You do not have any control over that. What you do have control of is the effort you're putting into practices, the effort you're putting into your competitions, your mindset when going into when practices and competition. Those are a couple of the things that that are controllables. Those are the things that you could really do. You could really focus on to change your game. Again, focusing on the uncontrollables isn't going to really help you. Well, I lost. And you dwell on that. Not going to help you really progress and change the next outcome. Now, and I watched this actually in a flag football game a couple weeks ago, where a young kid was throwing the ball, and of course, he dropped the ball in a crucial moment. And then afterwards, he dropped the ball twice when thrown to him. When that game was finished, what had happened is you could see his his demeanor. He was really, really upset with himself. And I think in sports, it's okay to be upset with yourself. And that's, one of the things that I did tell him was that, you have, some time to really feel sorry for yourself. Go ahead, feel sorry for yourself. It's okay to feel sorry for yourself. But the challenge for you now is to get over that feeling sorry for yourself, because it's not going to help you. It's not going to get you anywhere you want to be, because if you want to stay in this state of, and I watched him for maybe about 20 minutes where, he took himself away from the group. He didn't participate in any kind of, and the team had a break, and he didn't participate in any of the, I guess, team building stuff where the kids were, talking to each other, joking, throwing the football around. He really thought that his performance, he dwelled on his performance, and he's put himself off the sidelines. And that's why I had this conversation with the young lad. I said, listen, go ahead. And I'll tell you where I got that idea was from an Olympian, actually, Ohana Okufu. She's a wrestler, and she's, again, somebody that I've spoken to on the podcast. But that's one of the things that she talked about was, how, as an athlete, you can get, feel sorry for yourself. But, you know what? Now's the time. Once you're done feeling sorry for yourself, now the time's to rebuild yourself. And that's where the growth mindset comes in. And goes, okay, you know what? Okay, yeah, I screwed up, but you know what? I'm going to go back and get my mindset straight, and I'm going to participate with the other kids. I'm going to go and look at what I did wrong. I'm going to throw the ball with them, focus on on catching, on the techniques, etc., etc. And for the next game, of course, they played a couple games that day. So, and I can tell you, after that conversation, after watching the kid get back in with his team, in between games, and start playing around with them, joking around with them, you see a transformation. And the kid went back into the game. Although he didn't catch passes, he started playing defense, and he was switched on a man. And it was really cool to watch. Just this transformation, and hey, I'm not going to feel sorry for myself anymore. Bang, I'm going to get better. Here, I'm going to allot some time to feel sorry for myself. I digressed a little bit, but the reason why I wanted to go into that story is I want to say that, this is what I've been trying to do with my coaching journey, is to enrich myself through the people and the athletes, the coaches and the athletes that I've come across, and develop my own coaching methodology so that I can maybe not just technically, but, mentally enrich my kids as I start coaching the children and the youth that are within my wrestling room or on my team, so that they can become not only just good athletes, because I think the mental aspect of sports definitely will transfer over to their personal life as well. There's things that I've learned in sports, overcoming adversity, and that's one of the big things. A lot of athletes will talk about. They've learned through their sport to face adversity. One of the things, just watching this weekend, Michigan at the Rose Bowl. Michigan, those players have faced so much adversity with their losing their coach over suspension twice. They've basically been, performing on their own, and every second of the way they're facing adversity, and they came out on top. But those lessons that they learn through that sport, that is going to take them, when they graduate and when they become lawyers, doctors, or whatever the career they choose, they're going to be shown that through that sport that, when they do face adversity, you have the tools, the mindsets to overcome those sort of things. And that's, I think, one of the best thing a coach can do to pass on to kids is show them. And again, you can do this through the growth mindset. Carol Dweck, again, is the author, I think it's Mindset is the book. That you can overcome things. If you go back and you take a look at what I did wrong or what I could do to improve my journey, I think that adversity, again, could be challenged, and some people can overcome it in those manners. And that's why this podcast exists. Tell you the truth, it's the Conceive, Believe, and Achieve podcast is about, the journeys of coaches. It's about the journeys of athletes, but it's also about the journeys of the individual, because, through sports, and I think through other people's journeys, and again, you can become a better individual. And just hearing about, these coaches, and that's what I'm doing, tell you the truth, because I'm talking to athletes and I'm talking to coaches, and it doesn't matter high level or low level. I'm talking to them and I'm learning lessons myself, and it's not just lessons that I'm taking into my own coaching domain. I'm taking them into life. I'm using them as a parent, as a person, as a coworker. These are things that I'm utilizing, and I hope that you guys out there would be listening to this podcast and saying, yeah, this is why I listen to this podcast, because you know what, there are some really good things from some of these guests that are coming through, and I'm able to utilize for my own, whether I'm coaching or whether you are you utilize them as a coworker. Yeah, I can, if you can take this into a domain at work, again, like the Olympian Ohanawa said, you can feel sorry for yourself. So you may have something really bad happen to you at work, maybe, but you can feel sorry for yourself for a little bit. But you know what? Get up and do something about it. Because if you dwell about, that crap happening at work, you're always going to have that cloud hanging over your head. But in the minute you do something about it, maybe something else is going to change it, or you go back and you look, okay, I got to do this better. Boom. Okay, good. Now we've created a better environment to be in. So folks, that's just my, I guess, I'm not sure, 10-minute spiel or something like that for you. Hope you enjoyed this chat. I will implore you to share and subscribe and leave a comment if you can. This is the Conceive, Believe, and Achieve podcast. And I'm your host, Shawn Geris. I've coached at every single level of my domain, whether it's jiu-jitsu or wrestling at the University of York, or York University. And again, high school, and then, of course, grappling at the world level, at the 3 world championships. So, yeah, that's what I'm trying to do, is better my coaching journey and make myself a better person at the same time. Hope you do that too.